how bullying impacted my life. Before I go into the Warrior Academy and what it's all about, I'd like to share a bit of a personal story about really why I'm here today and why I'm in front of you talking about this. I really believe when we look back, the reason we do everything is based on our own values. And it's only easy to tell that when you join up the dots and look back. So this is how bullying impacted my life. I had a really exciting childhood. I grew up in a military family. My dad was in the airborne and a commando, so I spent a lot of my time watching him jump out of planes, doing assault courses, climbing tanks. It was an amazing, amazing childhood, super exciting, lots of adventure. But I was in a school, which is very, very typical in the UK. There were 40 kids in the class. If you ever go to a military area, anyone here from the UK, by the way? Anyone here from the UK? Cool. Just 2, 3, 4, okay. No one wants to admit that, I don't know why. So, okay, fair enough. So in military areas in the UK, it's very common to have very big class sizes. And often the schools, they struggle with funding. So in my class, there were 40 students for the first sort of 6 years of my upbringing. 40 students, the behavior was so bad, we had 13 teachers in 1 year. So in 1 year, I think it was year 3 or 4, 13 teachers came and went because the staff retention was so poor, because their behavior was so bad. Funnily enough, I wasn't actually bullied at this stage that I can remember. Maybe a little bit, but nothing too serious. And I think I probably just wasn't noticed because the class was so big, really. But I was failing academically. I was way behind, probably 2 years behind from a very, very young age. So I had a really bad start. And again, 13 teachers. The teachers had no personal relationship with us. 40 kids in the class, no personal attention. It became very, very difficult to succeed academically. So we changed schools. A lot of military families move around a lot. So what you find is, you start at one place, the parents do 2 years or 3 years in the location there, the HQ there, and they go somewhere else. They're based somewhere else, sometimes abroad, sometimes within 2 hours drive. We moved about 2 or 3 hours away, and we changed schools drastically. They realized that I needed some help academically. So we moved into a private school. It was an 18th century building. There were 12 kids in the class. And one of the teachers was a headmistress. She was 85 years old. And the headmaster was 90 years old. So it was like going to Harry Potter. This is the situation. So they were very, very strict on discipline. Discipline was, really important. And that old school approach also impacted academics. They were very, very strong on academics. So discipline and academics. Now, if you were failing academically, which I was, in that situation, it was highlighted. It wasn't, if you couldn't answer the question in class, you had to stand up and explain why you couldn't answer it. Go and sit outside the office because, you didn't do your homework or whatever it was, In whichever way you were struggling, that was highlighted. On top of that, the group of children there with just 12 students who were all slightly more privileged than I was used to. They had this kind of close-knit relationship with each other already. So I was bullied straight away. I went through 4 years of bullying. A lot of it was mental. It started off psychological, emotional, then it went to physical, to the point where I was beaten up before school, even from a young age. When the teachers weren't around, I was pinned down and kicked between the legs. All these different things went on. Eventually, I went through so much bullying, it got to the point where my parents enrolled me into martial arts. But even then, the first stages of martial arts, where they were trying to impact my character, develop my confidence, the bullying got worse because I was seen as more of a threat. So the bullying got worse and worse and worse, to the stage where, I remember one time I went to my first martial arts competition. I came home, I'd won a local competition. I was really proud of the trophy. My parents said to me, you have to go in and show the school. Went in, showed the class, stood up and showed the class. And then, I came back after break and the trophy was just in bits. They just destroyed the trophy. So this is the sort of thing, I was going through. Now, it's not that serious compared to some of the cases I've been interviewing or working with, but it has the impact to massively, give trauma to a child and impact their life. But ultimately, finding martial arts, this is my instructor here, Michael Tucker. He gave me my first black belt, and he gave me my third black belt as well, actually, a few months ago. So there's a really special relationship. Did anyone go to the character development workshop? Yeah? We're running another one in 2 weeks, by the way, guys. So the character development workshop, I talk about the unique relationship between a student and their martial arts instructor. Because of this focus on traditional values, the focus on developing a moral compass, those 3 C's, confidence, conduct, concentration, that we talk about so much, because of that focus, it's really an empowering way to develop a relationship between the instructor and the student. And so I was mentored through bullying. And I don't think he realized he was doing it. but he was filling me with confidence to overcome bullying. And over time, my confidence grew. And eventually I reached a breaking point. We'll go into this later. You'll start to notice the trends I spoke about, the predictable steps, 3 moments of misery, 3 moments of magic. I reached a breaking point. I remember running, I was playing football in, almost like a warehouse. It was an old wool store in this school. And I was running and then I was kicked the back of the legs and I fell over, my head hit the floor on the concrete. And I remember coming up and I think I hit the other person or pushed them, and suddenly it all changed. Now, that was my breaking point. I remember running from that, running off crying, and then I was punished from it, and then I went home, and my parents felt this sense of relief that I kind of stood up for myself. And I think a lot of you could relate to that. How can I encourage my child to stand up for themselves? How can I build resilience in my child? 9, 10? Yeah. So yeah, 10 years old, I'd say. It got to the point, it got so bad, and this is back in the day, you wouldn't get away with this now. I mean, a lot of you struggled to get into this building in the first place. My dad, during reception, during reception of the school, he went in full army uniform, stormed upstairs and addressed the whole class. I'm not sure if that would make it worse or better. But you know, for him, you know, busy guy, he was a major at the time, you know, for him to skip work in the morning, come in and address the whole school, he was at breaking point. And I think a lot of you are at breaking point. When you work, when I work with so many parents who go through bullying with their children, and I say go through bullying with their children because it's not just your child going through it. I look at so many of you, you're going through bullying through your child. You experience all of those moments of, you know, awareness, of lack of freedom, of breaking point. And then you'll also notice those moments of post-traumatic growth, which we'll talk about. But my dad reached that breaking point. My mum reached it long before, I think, because it was heartbreaking for her. It was also heartbreaking for me to watch them in so much pain about it. And I almost felt guilty. I felt guilty to talk to them about it. So I shut down. You know, I didn't want to talk to them about it. And I became I shrunk in my personality rather than grow for about 3 or 4 years. You know, I became introverted, where I'd always been, you know, fun, happy, and extroverted. I became introverted. And yeah, I didn't have, it took a long time for me to overcome it, you know, and ultimately finding martial arts was the tool for me to overcome bullying. And that's what led me to create the Warrior Academy. So that's exactly why I'm here today with all of you. It's something I'm so passionate about. Really, I go home after this, I'll probably write another 10,000 words on bullying. I don't need to sleep when I'm working on this. I really feel like I'm at war with bullying right now, you know, and it's not just a case of, you know, working with children one-on-one. I've been doing that for 10 years, 5,000 children, 5,000 families, probably more than 5,000 children. It's a case of I need to work with as many parents as possible to teach you guys a system, to give you guys the awareness, the insight, and a plan to help your children, not just the child that's going through bullying, but all of your children. And if I can do that, not just in the UK, but in Dubai as well, not just Dubai, but the world, I think we can make a massive impact into bullying. But it's funny how it's only when you look back and join the dots, you realize, you know, why you're doing what you're doing. And I think we can all say that if we look back and look at what we're doing right now, what led us to that. You look back, you join up the dots. These small things that happen in your life, they positively impact or they negatively impact your journey. They influence whatever you do anyway. So now I'll go into the Warrior Academy just quickly so you guys have an idea of why I'm able to stand up here in front of you all and talk, other than someone who's been bullied. So I'm the founder of the Warrior Academy. It's an organization, a martial arts organization that specializes in character development. We've got 5,000 students around the world, in Dubai and the UK, and we're voted top 5 in the UK. The best-selling author of The Warrior Method. There's the book over there. I don't know if you guys can see my laser, but it's cool, isn't it? So I released that in 2018. It goes into our process for developing character. So community, inspire, challenge, lead. Goes through lots of case studies of parents who've been through our program. I've got 25 years of experience in 6 styles of martial arts. I'm a multiple British champion, international professional fighter. So that's me in Thailand. I was fighting on the Queen's birthday over there. This is my first professional fight. This guy here had 35 fights. I was set up to lose. But I won on 3rd round knockouts. That was cool. Had to quickly leave the stadium though. So for the last year, I've been the personal trainer to the royal family in the UAE. which obviously is an honor and a privilege. I'm the father to a little warrior, this one here, not this one here, that's my wife. And there she is in her uniform. You might have seen her at the family class. We've got another one on the way as well. Max is going to be born on the 26th of May, or probably a month early, no my luck. So I'm the host of the Warrior Academy podcast, and the first 30 episodes are all about bullying. So has anyone seen or heard the podcast yet? Yeah? Cool. Why not, guys? What's going on? we need to, you got to follow it as soon as you leave, okay? So, so the podcast really, it dives deep into how to mentor your child through bullying. This is 2 hours, that's 30 hours. So if you leave here, and I'll send that to you today, you can then really start to become experts in bullying yourself. Now, if you're raising a child who's going through bullying and you're an expert in bullying, it's going to be so much easier for you. Yeah? And that's what I want to do. I want to create thousands and thousands of experts in bullying, so you guys can just help your children get through this transition quicker. That's what the podcast is about. We're also interviewing some really extreme cases of bullying. So Menno, Siebinga, who's my co-author, he's going to come over here in March. We're going to record with F10, these guys here, an online bullying course. I've also written 70,000 words in the Not a Victim book. We've managed to chop that down to 50,000 words. So we're publishing our second book. That will come out in June. We'll do a big book launch here in Dubai in June. We're also making a children's book to make the lessons from the adult book digestible for children. So I'm being turned into a cartoon character as we speak. So this is a huge part of what I do now. The podcast, the workshops, the book, it's all centered around bullying at the moment. Recently I've been featured in these places here. Some of them you may know. Dubai Eye, Virgin Radio 2 days ago in the morning. Nationals coming out in a month. Golf Today. So some of these you'll know. Almost all of these things have been about character development or bullying.